because there's going to be zealots in the back door picking apart your drone line. He is a man who attacks from all sides at all times. He is, of course, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming. He's in the bottom right of Moondance, the red Protoss hero.
In the top left for Shopify Rebellion, he is the blue Zerg, Lambo. Lambo's kind of got his, I guess, team, literally some teammates, but also possibly a team of Zerg. Maybe give him some hints to how to handle herO's style. I think the fact that Scarlet not only has played against herO twice and being on the same team as Shopify Rebellion, but also I believe they've talked about how much they talk to each other. On top of the fact that she is unfortunately now out of the tournament, I think it all lends to the fact that it must be a fact. I'm not 100% sure about it, but I feel like it is the case. They must have been talking about it. She must have been able to actually kind of describe more in detail exactly what it was experienced like, what was she missed, you know, when she lost those games, or what she did correctly when she won the games.
Yeah, there's got to be that brains trust, you know, just joining their forces together and trying to solve the problem that is this Protoss player. Now, of course, we talk about some things being predictable. Let's be real. herO is, yes, there's certain build orders you can read. He's also very capable of switching it up just on a dime and changing gears very quickly. For now, the probe does force Lambo out to take that front third base very split apart. We see that get taken advantage of by things like Adept Pressure and Estrella's series earlier. So definitely some nice ways you can utilize that short rush distance as the Protoss. But for now, does look like very standard openings. No signs of any big deviations here.
Not yet. I think we are going to be paying close attention to herO's, not necessarily third base time. He usually gets at third base at pretty much the same time, but the gases and how many gases he has been one of the first determining branches, I suppose, of how he's going to play this game. And then there's still many more branches and twigs down the line as well. But it usually starts off with, yeah, the Nexus coming down, Adept coming. Sometimes Chrono's the Adept, sometimes actually plays a little greedier. And then triple Oracle is the basis of the style.
No Chronos into the Adepts early on, so herO not utilizing the double Adept pressure. Probe just hangs around for a moment. A couple seconds extra deny on the hatchery, as well as confirming that that goes down. And this, of course, is just checking this area to make sure there aren't Zerglings flooding out across the map just yet. One extra hit there with the drone. Lambo wants to secure that kill, and he might just be able to. One more Zergling hit, but he doesn't want to lose any of those Zerglings. The Adept has arrived. The Stargate is up, and the Stalker coming out behind it. No doubt Oracle soon to follow.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, Adept was just like, he just knew the timing, right? Just really on point, because the Overlord's not even near the gateway currently. Not that it really has to be, as we've been saying, as far as the first 4-5 minutes, basically, it's kind of figured out for what herO is going to do. And then around, well, more like 4:35, you really got to figure out exactly what it is. But speaking of kind of getting that scouting done, right, herO, of course, has to give credit to these Zergs. There are a couple of cheeky things they can do in the early game. We did see evidence of that earlier in this matchup. So making sure to get as much scouting as possible with that single Adept, and the Oracle freely able to go across the map will actually secure that scouting.
Third Nexus already started for herO. That's very quick, of course. It is something that you don't need to defend. It's in the back. It's only 6 minerals and 1 gas, but still a very powerful third base. And for a herO, ooh, okay, he's going to dive in, gets 2 drones, takes a little bit of damage, but not too bad. But yeah, herO, he likes minerals. He doesn't like to take gas. He sits on 3 or 4 gases for the majority of his games in this matchup, building just Stalkers and Zealots. So the third base in the back, it's just so handy for him. He likes to take a very quick 4th base. This plays into his style very nicely. That being said, Lambo has maintained a worker advantage already in the game, and that's very impressive.
There's a couple of things happening here, I guess. Like, okay, so first of all, I think Moondance does really play out nicely. herO really doesn't have to worry about any type of Ling shenanigans. Not that we know Lambo so much as that kind of Ling, like, pushing the trigger points type of situation, but you really don't have to worry about it on Moondance when, yeah, you have that safe third base. But then actually prioritizing the Forge this time around. It's a very small difference, but he absolutely got that first and foremost. I feel like this is the version of an opening where he does go into the second Forge fairly quickly as well. I don't think he usually slaps them at the same time, but kind of a little offset of each other, but we'll see if that is actually the case.
Yeah, definitely a focus on getting at least a very quick +1 out. The Oracle's still darting around. herO's, you know, he's really chaotic with the way he uses his Oracle Adept. It's hard to read because he does it in such a strange way, and he manages to get 4 more workers, a very good start. I feel like Lambo initially was really on point, but look at that, in comes the Stasis Trap as well, and he's gonna keep on doing this. Stasis Trap's just forcing you to rack all over the place. But Lambo's work account, 60 to 51. I've got to say, I've seen a lot of Zergs just barely equal on herO with the workers the whole early game. Lambo seems to have a very good understanding of how to get the economic lead and just work from there. He's taking the 4th on the north side of the map. His creep is getting out there. I don't think he's going to be shy on the numbers. That being said, herO, he's building a 4th Oracle, so okay, we are just going to see stasis traps all over the map. We're going to see if the Roaches run off creep, the Oracles are going to turn on their lasers and blast the Ravagers.
Yeah, again, these Oracles, really a surprising extra nuisance for the Zerg players to consider, not just for the harassment, but also for the actual pairing up with the army. Quite a few gateways coming down, but a total of 8. When you are building just pure gateway forces, that is a requirement. No second forge actually was thrown down, so not quite that double forge style. Now Queen actually falling as some of this Oracle pressure. Lambo did get a little supply blocked actually, just as you were talking about his drones, but it was a very, very minor one. We are talking, I guess, about very much a hardcore macro game, and this is where, brought it up a billion times, it feels like at this point, this is where, yes, the Zerg player could try and poke and prod. Maybe they think they can get maxed out and just push into herO when it's easy peasy lemon squeezy, but herO actually does start to take some unfortunate trades, or fortunate for him rather, and the Zerg player's pacing just feels like it's really thrown off. So I think it's great that we've gotten such a nice start to this game, 7 minutes without much happening. They both got to do their thing for the most part, but we'll see how Lambo actually controls the flow of battle, because that seems to be the next hiccup for a lot of Zerg players.
There's only 5 queens out right now, and we're about to hit the 5th Oracle, 6th Oracle is on the way. And a Nidus Worm going down for Lambo. It really feels like he wants to hit a Roach Max. This is amazing at taking down herO in terms of just overwhelming. If you can get Niduses in the back of this map, there's so much space in the main. On the other hand, he's not got anything to contest the Oracles, but their energy is not that high.
Right, that's actually what I was going to point out, is that the Queen numbers aren't that high. You just pointed out coincidentally with that Nidus Worm, but there are going to be 7 Oracles eventually. The 6th just popped out, so that's going to be 5 Queens without a whole lot of transfuses. And in fact, if one of them or 2 of them gets picked off, then that is just a boon here for herO. The Nidus Worm is going back into that 3rd base. This herO paying attention. Usually he's purely focused on taking good trades. He is paying attention. 4 Stalkers are warped in. I believe that will be enough to stop it, as well as just knowing there's so much army still in the front lines. Here comes those Oracles and 3 Queens. Yes, they have transfuses. Would they actually be enough to stand up to that many Oracles?
Oh, Nidus goes up in the edge of the main base, just barely in vision. herO's moving to respond. I'm not sure he'll get there in time, though. That Nidus Worm, if it gets up, he can start unloading in the main, and that's huge because it's all about the struggle to reinforce here as the Zerg, but herO, he's all over it.
Yeah, this is actually really great. Just anticipating that Nidus Worm, I believe, in the first place, but barely able to catch a glimpse of it as well. So he's defending on the front lines. He's dealing with the Nidus Worms behind him. He's still building Oracles, by the way, so this lacking Queen count really is quite the problem. 7 going on 8 at this point, and +2 is going to finish for all of these Blink Stalkers. So herO is even taking control of the main engagement. The Nidus Worm will help with the reinforcements, and those are regular old Zealots, right? They're not exactly that scary, but herO's plan is to hold back at home with his gateways, with his shield battery, with his warp-ins, and then do catastrophic damage on the other side of the map with all of those Oracles.
Whoa, so many workers going down, and Lambo, he's trying to force his way through, but that choke point is brutal. The battery overcharge working its magic. Finally, a Nidus Worm comes up, but only a dribble of Zerg into the main of herO. herO defending so well, quickly repositioning with a recall. I think Lambo's got to get out of here.
Yeah, the aggressive blink forward, too, is going to try and capture the Nidus Worm, so it will also be able to pick up a few more Roach kills, and that does leave this base a little bit under-defended, but what am I talking about? The Oracles swiftly come back home to help defend, and Lambo is forced to tap out. herO, he does get thrown a bit of a curveball. That might have been one of the first times he experienced that in particular Nidus Worm play, but he handled it as if it was no big deal at all.
Beautiful play there by herO to start off the series. Non-stop Oracle production and quite cautious with his unit movement. Not moving out and letting those units get surrounded at all by the Roaches. Not giving any free damage. Remember, up until Lambo's push came across the map, herO had not lost a single unit in that game. So it was just perfect, clean, picking up pieces of damage here and there. And Lambo's build order, I think, required maybe just a bit of a crisper opening. Once those Oracles got in behind his base, it felt like they were able to dive in, find some good damage, And of course, that backstab there with the Oracles just to be the icing on top of the cake. But the thing is, I think Lambo had already taken too long, unable to get in and force a fight. Without the Nidus in the back, there's just no way to get in there.
Yeah, I think a couple of things really came into play here. The SimCity, yet again, also being kind of an unsung hero sometimes with hero style of play, really forcing Lambo into that choke. Not for this particular fight, which is already almost determined at this point, but a couple of the previous ones, making it a bit scarier to pounce if he was given the opportunity. But then, yes, the Nidus Room's not actually getting up. Certainly, with the style of play that hero has, there is a possibility that you either catch them before they have a critical mass of stalkers, they haven't warped in quite enough, or you make them split them up, and then the critical mass is no longer, it's too, medium masses, I suppose. And that's not good enough, especially if you can't micro perfectly on both sides as well. So idea-wise, I loved it. And what's what we talked about at the beginning is that theory might be actually fantastic for Lambo here, but actual execution, that is just so difficult to do. hero is just firing all fronts, man. He's defending, he's attacking, he's playing the mind games as well, and he's just looking so good in this matchup.
Well, it often does feel like when he wins, it counts as 2 points, but it is, of course, 1-0 in his favor. The red player in the bottom left side, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it is herO.
In the top right, as the blue Zerg, he is Lambo.
The early Adept aggression didn't really happen in that last game, but the Oracles, it's just a constant stream of them diving in, and he has very weird movement. It's a peculiar thing when you play against herO, because you play against Creator, Trap, some of these top Protoss players, and the Oracles are very difficult to deal with. But with herO, it's just like, it's a little different. They're just coming in from strange angles, they're splitting up, then they're joining back up. They're diving on queens, as we saw in that last game. If you leave a single queen out of position, they'll just take the fight and zap her down. It's very difficult to have the clean opening, and I think with that sort of build where you're like, hey, this is clearly a planned timing attack, I want to throw herO off his game, get a nice easy win and make him uncomfortable, you want a super smooth opening. You kill one of those early Oracles, only lose a couple of drones, and then you just have that onslaught flowing across the map. So I think Lambo, I don't think he's going to hate the strategy choice. I think he's just going to feel like, hey, just to clean things up, tighten up the opening, and let's go into whatever we had planned for game 2.
Well, it's not impossible to throw out some more Nidus Worm builds, but it does feel like that kind of particular jig is up. So even more mindful of some of the dead space in the main bases, because this is one, I guess, the new map pool actually has a lot of main bases. This seems to be encompassing of the entire map pool. These main bases are quite large. Maybe they heard some complaints about the previous one, or like, there's not enough room for a barracks. I don't know, but now it feels like there's a ton of that blank space that Nidus Rooms could be abusive. But yeah, herO should be very keen on that idea now that he's had it happen to him in game 1.
Drones transferring out to that third base. herO always disruptive with his play. And likes to force the Zerg to take that third all the way out front. And just circling here with the probe, making sure that Lambo isn't Ling flooding behind it, checking that that third base is going down and attempting to block it. Oh wow, even the spy pylon, the Adept, is it going to be able to get here before that pylon goes down? He might be able to snipe the drone.
That's actually so funny. The pylon will be canceled. The drone was in fact killed, and the Adept can still do some micro to actually successfully escape, maybe take down a couple of more Lings if Lambo did not take that seriously. So it doesn't seem like a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. Perhaps it is not, but this always seems to be what happens with herO. When he gets these early pokes and prods, it actually does continue to happen, and then before you know it, he's already won the game. We do have a very different follow-up here from herO, which is a very fast Twilight Council, not the third base, not additional gateway, just right into Twilight Council.
I love the variation. In the last game, all the chronos went into probes early on. This time, the Adept gets chrono boosted across the map, pairs it up with the pylon, delays the third. It's a minor disruption, but it's all about setting up for the next step, and that is, of course, Twilight Glaive Adept. 4 gateways on the way here for herO, and he's getting ready for those Adepts. Now, did he build a robo at all? I feel like he didn't, so this is just going to be Adept shading across. He's going to have the very delayed Warp Prism sort of following up. So he can keep reinforcing this, or he could use it as a bit of a lighter pressure. Either way, it's going to be a nice, smooth opening. Lambo, he's catching up back on the workers, taking that lead. Doesn't have a scout on exactly what herO is doing just yet. The Roach Warren, though, going down on 4 minutes, and his Zerglings are checking for proxies. Very responsible play for Lambo.
Yeah.
He knows who he's up against. He does not want to get caught by a proxy.
Yeah, very responsible is a good way to put it, because a lot of other Zerg players have been trying to, especially with that Roach Warren, kind of cut it out of the equation, get a little bit greedier, go right into the +1 melee, for instance, but this is going to help against the Resident Glaives once Lambo kind of figures things out for sure, but of course he doesn't know exactly what is on the way. You know, there also is the possibility of a Dark Shrine. So that's all the scouting being done, that's the Spore Crawlers coming down. You know, ultimately, yes, they are wasted, but in this case, better safe than sorry. He does need to get some units out, however, and actually start handling these Adepts. As you pointed out, the War Prism coming in a little bit later, but nonetheless in time to support the Adepts if herO sees an opportunity.
herO takes a really quick third with this, but he's actually not probing it all. It looks like he wants to keep warping in Adepts on the front when that Prism comes out. So herO very committed to this aggression. Plenty of Zerglings ready right now to deal with the first clump, but more gateways are on the way. herO looks like he just wants to go for broke with this. Maybe gonna add in an Immortal or two and do the Immortal Adept follow-up. It feels to me like he really wants to keep the aggression going. As I say that, he does build a few workers. We've got to keep our eye on it. 6 gateways so early can really turn into a powerful attack.
I mean, more gateways are going to finish eventually. Currently still on the 4, so maybe 4 more. But then is he actually going to just continue to hold down the Adept button, or as you were saying, add in some of those Immortals? I gotta figure that's eventually what's gonna happen. But he wants to kind of get Lambo on the back foot right here, right now. There's the Immortal production. But the Adept still very much a threat right here. The War Prism now a bit less of a threat as it ran over Queens and a Spore Crawler. That is not the plan at all. And herO's Adepts do get locked in on that main ramp, so they're not actually threatening anything currently. Now the drones are a little more in range, but here comes that Ravager, so the War Prism's got to get out of there. And this so far has been handled very well by Lambo.
Very nice cleanup. He's up 8 workers. A lot of his Zerglings may have died pretty quickly, but he was all over it. And no drone losses, just no real drone losses at all. Up 50 workers, building more. herO was so committed to this zombie grub. This was a bizarre build order from herO. He's on 7-gate Adept. He now builds the second Immortal, but it's quite late. It's almost an afterthought to this. And this is essentially just a mass Adept Immortal all in. Lambo, though, respecting it. He's adding 1 or 2 drones at a time. It's mostly Roach Ravager Zergling production, and that's exactly what he needs. If he just holds down the drone key, he could die to this, but right now he's balancing safety with economy perfectly.
hero's going to try and add on charge. Actually trying to build some probes here, too. So, I mean, not going to, I guess, overcommit. He might still show the Immortals on the other side of the map and then try to abuse some of these chokes, make sure that Lambo never tries to jump on top of him. Obviously, the Resident, or the Adept Shades can also threaten the actual pass-by. So Lambo has to respect that as well. But I do feel like Lambo is handling this about as you would expect. This Immortal is just in the wrong side of town. Hello?
Barrier does get activated by the Queens there. Third Immortal's on the way. Probes, charge lots, Zealots coming in. And the thing is, Lambo's just adding a drone or two, adding a Baneling Nest, adding a few Roaches and Ravagers. He's really balancing everything out. He's like, look, I don't know what you're doing right now. I'm not sure you know what you're doing. Are you all in or not? hero's trying to just tread water and posture up aggressively, get an overreaction, and then somehow make this awkward transition work. But Lambo is saying, look, if I just do a bit of everything as well, tread water, as long as my units are in the right position, there's no way you're going to catch me off guard here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that assessment, but it's finally been determined to actually go for gold. hero's brought his Immortals forward. That charge is finishing up, and he is looking for an opportunity either to send the Adepts in to do a lot of damage to the drones, or to at least fake that, and then have Lambo missplit his army, so hero's main force can actually do that damage. Will it actually work out? That War Prism dangerously close, but only a couple of Ravagers. The Adepts actually do shade forward. Banelings are about to finish to help clear those out, and in fact, they absolutely will. Lambo still holding on to a decent number of Roaches, but 3 Immortals still alive. The Adepts go into the main base, and now the drones are under fire, but the Immortals are up against way too much. They are forced to retreat, but herO has done that damage. 17 drones have gone down.
I mean, it's a bit of a desperate attack, but it finds the mark. Lambo, I think the Banelings were such a great idea, but herO saw they were still morphing, and he said, I'm going for it. He dove in there before those Banelings were ready. His Adepts are going to get cleaned up in the main. The Immortal Zealot comes back in on the front. Those Immortals are the hard counter to the Roaches, and they're doing massive damage.
Yeah, he's catching them actually while there's just not enough Roaches. The Ravagers were also pulled a bit out of position, so that War Prism once again allowed the siege up offensively to get that warp in. The Immortals, some of them have their shields again. The War Prism was absolutely the target, and actually still thinks that he's going to be able to get it, but the Queens walking off creep can't actually go for it. The pickup on the Immortal to save at least 2 of them, if not continue to juggle. herO absolutely familiar with that. Finally has to admit that he's got a recall out of there. He has swapped over into Disruptors and given himself a 10-worker lead.
I can't believe it. herO, how does he find his way out of these murky waters? I mean, it's still a very dangerous position, but he's got Disruptors up against a Roach counterattack that doesn't have Roach speed yet. Maybe he can hang on. He's got a Disruptor out, second one on the way. He's got the Prism to juggle these units. He does need battery healing. He's trying to warp in sentries, but if he defends this counterattack from Lambo, he could win it.
Oh, this is going to be a good one. Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
That was an amazing shot, clearing out so many of those protective Roaches. The Ravager count still not that impressive, but certainly better than before, but not in range, well, of the Observer, okay, but not of the shield battery. That should be the first one to pop. The slow Banelings not nearly as threatening as they should be. Another Disruptor pops out as well. Gonna get the tail end of a Ravager. That one was not nearly as impressive, but 3 Immortals, another Disruptor shot. Once again, 1 Disruptor. The Warp Prism continuing to juggle around as well. 3 Immortals still barely alive. Adepts now being warped in as well. I guess continue the chase, expecting some Ling reinforcements that actually are not on the way. Lambo unable to break herO's third base.
He did drone up behind it, though, 64 drones to 62 probes, but we are back at close to an even situation, and Lambo does not have tech. He doesn't have a 4th base. This has got to be a frustrating situation. It feels like he's done everything right on the strategic level, yet herO constantly posturing around and looking for the booms!
Oh, okay. Oh, this is still very spicy indeed. Lambo at least has that economy back under control, but still no upgrades. I think actually, I want to say that he canceled that +1 missile and has restarted it, but also Centrifugal Hook's now on the way. Things are trying to move along here, but it feels like herO has managed to keep that pace on his side as the Protoss player, seeing an even supply as herO does add on his own upgrades, his Blink, of course, continuing to add on Disruptors. Doesn't particularly bode well for someone who is still on Ling, Roach, and not even that many Ravagers again.
Yeah, I mean, the lair tech being so late for Lambo, I think, is part of what allowed herO to work this magic. 6 drones and Adepts in the third at the same time. This is such an annoying thing to play against. I've said it before, herO is absolutely frustrating to play against. He's always coming in from a surprising angle, and he is finding damage where there shouldn't be any.
I mean, I guess the Adepts were just kind of that thinking 2 steps into the future. He was like, you know what, I'm going to clean this up. Let's make some Adepts, then I can send them across the map with the Warp Prism to be a real bother. The Warp Prism still so dangerously close to death is going to survive. Lambo was already in a precarious position before he lost 16 drones, now an utterly terrible one. Now, it's still down in workers, even as he tries to make 8 of them, still not on any of those upgrades, and herO is going to go for the throat. He knows that he's applied enough pressure, he's seen what the army looks like, and it's something that he is willing to tackle.
It's mostly Roaches and Ravagers, and they are absolute magnets for those Disruptor shots. Chunky units that aren't that fast, and it's hard to spread their big Disruptor shots land. herO will not be denied. It doesn't matter if you scout his opening, it doesn't matter if you're ready for the first and the second waves. He is just such a nasty way of using those units, constantly shading in, and his ability to not take a bad fight when it seems like he has to, and just hang around and create pressure. He forces mistakes from his opponents, and he finds openings where nobody else could find them.
Yeah, that's actually, I think that's what happened in that game, man. I really thought that Lambo had maybe not perfect control of the situation. Maybe he was also, as you were pointing out, like kind of being like, well, I don't know exactly what you're doing, but I'm going to try and cover my bases. But still, that kind of indecision can be killer to a Zerg player. And then just some of the engagements not going as well as he was hoping. The Disruptors really stopping him from getting any type of counter pressure. Absolutely fantastic game, but that doesn't mean that herO's up 2-0. And he's on a currently 28-0 best of win streak against Zerg.
Indeed. A beautiful, beautiful streak. I mean, that is just ridiculous. He's just been... It's his ability to have so much range as a player. We don't think of this style as the herO style, but it's because he's got so many different builds up his sleeve that he can execute at a whim. This counterattack here needed to do counter damage for Lambo after taking so much, and he was close to breaking through, but just a handful of Immortals, a sprinkling of Adepts, a single force field, 1 Prism and a few Disruptors. Amazing control from herO to shut this down. Didn't lose any of his important units in this fight.
Yeah, imagine if that Warp Prism died for many reasons, but the obvious one being the lack of reinforcements for the couple of first engagements. The less obvious one was right there. Imagine if that Warp Prism wasn't able to juggle all of those units. The Disruptors get targeted down, the Immortals just have to crab walk away, not nearly as effective, and then maybe Lambo does find that counter pressure, but that Warp Prism hanging on by a thread at times, also coming in clutch for herO. As we move on to a Cosmic Sapphire. Tropical Sacrifice was one of our larger maps as well, but that didn't really stop herO from doing a Resident Glaives build.
Unexpected is often just as power is optimal, and that's what this man, he lives and dies by that. In the bottom right, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it is herO.
In the top left for the Shopify Rebellion, he is a Lambo. The last representative of the team, I believe.
Oh,
Young
yeah.
got knocked out. Scarlet got knocked out, and Harstam, of course, in the team kill got knocked out. So their hopes rest on him, but he goes up against the Titan. That is herO, again, 28-0 in series score. That's over 2 months, which is actually kind of just amazing how many matches I guess herO's been playing. Ooh.
This is why he's such a nightmare to play against, Zombie Grub. Oh my god. He's so unpredictable. What even is this? Is it going to be a gateway? Is he just going to go proxy Oracle? He's so bloody unpredictable, herO is. And he's going to go across this map already proxying a pylon. Lambo does not have an Overlord headed in that path. You never had an Overlord over there. And yes, a second gate. Okay, so this is going to be just a depth pressure. And he's going to do a normal macro build behind it, potentially, right? He could still expand and probe up behind it like a 2-gate. It's just you don't notice until the first adepts arrive. Or he could go completely all out and just do a 1-base all-in off this proxy.
That would be crazy, but herO is kind of a bananas player for sure. I love it though. The one thing that I think is a bit suspicious, right, for Lambo, the only thing that could be suspicious right now is that there wasn't any probe block, or even probe scout in general, which herO has been very adamant about, always trying to get that probe block down, always trying to disrupt the Zerg player. So I wonder if Lambo is like already kind of like, okay, what's happening? But of course, on such a large map, it'd be hard to say if you could ever find exactly what the plan is. You're gonna have to get into that natural and see perhaps the delay on the Nexus, and then you're like, oh, okay. But it still doesn't mean it's gonna be necessarily easy to hold when link speed literally just starts.
I mean, the thing is, yeah, do you know it's a gateway? You know something is up. You see the Nexus is late. What exactly is up, though? I mean, he even does a double take with the Overlord, does Lambo. He's like, what is going on? I see you chronoing an Adept across the map, but what is this all about? Another Adept does start on the offensive side of the map there. herO coming in with this early Adept. Queen will be popping momentarily, and she will push that Adept back. Drones and Zergling are pulled there. Lambo does have his third hatchery down, which is very important, because otherwise that can get blocked by the Adepts. It's a production facility. Obviously, it's not like being greedy or anything. He just needs that to build more Zerglings and drones in the future. But now it feels like herO is not going too crazy on it. Just the Adepts threatening with the Shade. Lings are on top of it, though.
And this is going to force a lot of reactions from Lambo, even having to build the Evolution Chamber and then cancel it, having to build enough Lings to take it seriously. I mean, he's not really quite even seeing how much this is being dedicated to. His Overlord on the side of the map isn't near the gateway. He doesn't know where the second gateway is either. So there's a lot of questions, but this really helps out. That was one of the cleanest cleanups that you would have been able to have. Like, that's actually feels kind of like a failure so far.
No, it hasn't done the damage it wanted to, that's for sure. But does Lambo realize it's out there? He should be realizing, and yeah, he's got good gamer instincts. He's like, hey, you built a Stalker at home. There's no way there's 2 Adepts there. He's looking for it, but oh no, he's barely missed it. He's got to get rid of that because there is a Glaive Adept follow-up.
Right.
You can't afford a proxy just sitting there on your side of the map. And I mean, the worst thing here is you think there's a proxy, you don't find it, you get even more confused in this scenario.
Yeah, that's actually problematic. There's so many places to look at on this map. It's also a new map, so you don't exactly know where the common nook and crannies are. This is getting a little more complicated than herO was hoping for. It's also going to reveal his follow-up plan, which maybe Lambo was already a little suspicious of, but now confirms it, sees the Adept warping in, knows that's Resident Glaives on the way, goes for a couple of last-second probe kills, then just content to be annoying, but now knows what to prepare for. Just wish that he could find that gateway, right?
Wishes he could get the Adept down as well there. herO is so good at letting Lings into his base, it's actually ridiculous. He's the only Protoss player where it's often a bad idea to run in when the doors open, because he just pulls everything back, keeps it all alive, loses only a single probe there to all of those Zerglings. Lambo is building lots of Lings. He's got the Roach Run. He has still not found that gateway, and that is a huge bummer. This is the problem with the new maps. As you said, finding the nooks and crannies. If you're not as experienced on it, you miss that. You might not realize, hey, there's a little corner there.
His Overlord might eventually, but by then the Adepts have already going to show themselves. Yeah, exactly. There it is. Adepts are still going to be a huge nuisance. Again, they're going to shade. Maybe they won't commit ever, but then they're going to always cause Lambo to take them seriously. And in the process, he might kind of be forgetting that there's another option with that Twilight Council. Actually, they pull the trigger. They're going to go on top of that ramp, which it makes a lot of sense. Only Ling so far to help defend. Roaches are on the way. Queens are being pulled, but of course their DPS does not actually tackle Adepts all of that quickly, and even one of them goes down. Now this jump into the main base is a little more lopsided, a little bit more of a surround from those Lings, but Resident Glaives really just murdering them all, and the drones are forced to escape.
There are some roaches popping out now. More roaches on top of this. Already so many drone losses have gone down. Very nice surround. Recall only saving 2 of those Adepts. Remember, the third base is not down, but herO has got a Dark Shrine finishing. And remember, Lambo has played the EU style, which means no lair until I shut down your Twilight aggression. And that means he does not have any detection available. Lambo, he still has not found the gateway, the Dark Templar, warping in on the front. If he doesn't start a spore right now, this is going to be GG to those DTs.
I think it might just be, man. Like, he's just focusing on getting a bit of a counterattack, stopping perhaps that third base from actually formulating, but that's not the big issue. DTs are coming in, and Lambo, when is he going to react? He's already reacted. Good pull in the drones as well to try and hold that spores, but it's 2 DTs. They're going to kill the drones. They're going to kill the spore. The Adepts over here apparently may even focus on that spore crawler, and Lambo is just going to have so much chaos. Even if he eventually does get some detection up and running, it's caused a lot of panic, all while herO gets up his third base behind this.
This is actually such creative play out of herO, showing respect. I think he's saying, hey, these Zergs have figured out my Oracle Stalker style. That's fine. I'm not a one-trick pony. I can completely switch it up in this series. You thought you were preparing for a completely different style of Protoss. Nuh-uh. I'm going to make it so hard for you.
Oh, barely able to root that spore crawler down. I mean, Lambo really is taking care of this as well as you would expect, trying to keep a cool head in the face of such possible panic anyways, and moving the spore crawler. Thank goodness for that buff to their burrow speed 10 years ago, as that is helping Lambo right now in 2022. But as I was pointing out, herO has been able to get everything he wanted back at home, perhaps even enough to defend what Lambo's army has been building up to, but that is a big question. 50 army supply to 12. herO is going to need a little bit of help if Lambo goes across the map.
Nice corner there with those Adepts. Only one of them goes down. Other ones falling back to the third base. Forge, cannons, and battery are all up. Another DT walks in. Lambo on just 31 drones. He's all in with a big Roach Ravager Ling counterattack, trying to defend these Adepts at home. He has to take out the third and more. He's taking so much damage at home. There is no way back. He has to win the game with this.
Said that herO was going to need a bit of help, but shield battery and a cannon might not be enough. Second cannon is going to finish, but with 4 or 5 Ravagers actually in play, they could burst something down, although they're not currently bursting them down. The shield battery is the first to be targeted. There goes the cannon, and finally the third thing as well, but that is also still some time bought. Perhaps herO can now evacuate to his natural, wait for some of the Immortals to come into play. One of them trying to hold the line. Shield battery is available, but that is only going to buy so much time. Force field, again, also only going to buy so much time against Corrosive Bile. herO desperately trying to buy that side with another force field as the shield battery barely holds on, but no overcharge available. It's out of juice, and Lambo is trying to win with this. 50 army supply to 14. Second Immortal pops out, but the Corrosive Biles are looking to hit it. The probes are going down. Lambo entirely all in, is trying to reach for it. It won't go down right now, but perhaps with the Ravagers. herO, I think he's out of luck here.
He just got a bit too greedy in the follow-up, and Lambo digs into his pockets. He digs deep and he says, I know I've got to make it happen right now. I might be down to 20 workers behind this, but you, sir, you are dead. The Roach Ravager Zergling breaks the main base. He's completely pushed herO back. His last workers in production about to go down. I can't believe it. Lambo keeps himself alive.
Ooh, Lambo barely keeps himself alive. herO not able to do the 1, 2, 3 punch that he was hoping for, and yet still, it was still him in the favorable position. But when you go back and you watch that over again, I wonder if herO had done a little bit more with the Adept pushes twice, or if he had saved more of those Adepts a couple of times as well. Could he have actually held that counterattack? Even the DTs, for instance, you know, they were very close to straight up winning the game for him. Perhaps if they were also saved, that's 2 Archons back at home too. That was a very, very close game, but Lambo gets to the chanceless best of 5.
That was a very impressive hold and turnaround. Let's see if he can continue it. We're going to be right back after a very short break. Welcome back, everybody. We thought the series might be over with a decisive 3-0, but Lambo rallies, he fights back, and with only about 20 drones left behind it, he manages to get a map off of herO, and he avoids going down 3-0 despite missing the proxy gateway. A hidden proxy out there on the map that entire game, which remember, even at the very end of that, he had not cleared that proxy up, and that made his life so hard. You could see the relief on Lambo's face at the end of the game, but also the sort of frustration at like, how? Where did these Dark Templar come from? Where the heck was all of this coming from? Proxy gate in the corner of a new map. It's nasty.
Yeah, it seems like a perfectly positioned place for a gateway. It feels like the map maker designed it just to be a little bit out of the main pathway so you could fit a gateway or a Stargate or something there. But a very interesting opener in general from herO. He has been mixing it up, obviously, in this series than just the usual Blink Stalker. And again, Blink Stalker could be a lot of different variations, but no, Blink Stalker one game, then Resident Enclaves, then I guess a proxy gate into Resident Enclaves here. So he is making sure to stay, I guess, tip-top against the onslaught of Zergs, as this is also, I guess, one of the few, I suppose, very big premier weekend tournaments.
Yeah.
Be very specific here. So it's not an online tournament, which, yes, they're going to throw Zergs at you in succession, but it's also not GSL, where you get to prepare a little bit more, right? You actually got the combination of being offline with everyone just hoping to try and figure things out against you as you become more and more the person with your target, the target on your back.
And indeed, right now there is a very much a stress of dealing with just the constant ever-changing chaos that is herO. But Lambo rallied there, and I really think he should take some confidence from that. The previous map, he almost managed to handle it and knuckle down. But of course, he's going to change it up. You know he does every single time. In the top right of Inside Out, one game away from winning the series and going to the top 8, it is herO.
In the bottom left is the blue Zerg. For Shopify Rebellion, it is a Lambo.
Looking G'd up and focused there. He's going to need it. herO, of course, has just shown him a few different Twilight builds. That one off a proxied second gate before Nexus at the start of the game. Some early opening harassment, but Lambo defended it well. And he did defend the early aggression well in the previous game. It feels to me like the differential here is that herO has been in these murky waters in these follow-ups many times, and unless a Protoss player overcommits to the attack, loses the army, and then bam, Lambo has complete control. herO realizes, ooh, you're countering me? I'm gonna hang around and make things uncomfortable for you, and I am just gonna keep probing for weakness, and I'm gonna try and find it. And it's within those twists and turns where herO really shows his expertise at finding cheeky ways to catch his opponents off guard.
I love this probe micro. Like, Lambo is just expecting the hatch block, and hero's like, oh, okay, so you're not going to even try and fight me for it. So then he just goes and does the micro thing in the main. Something you would be very frustrated with no matter what your skill level is.
I like the way he does it in the mineral line as well. He's like, yeah, I want you to A-move your drones on that because you know I'm quick enough that I'll mineral walk it out of there in time. Like, it is the most obnoxious in-your-face trying to bait the Zerg into wasting time attacking it. Lambo just patiently microing his drones to make sure they stay doubled up. There's nope, not going to take the bait there. herO's probes are the most annoying in the world. One of the first Protoss players who realized that if you just send a probe across against Terran at the start of the game, it drives them crazy. And yeah, he's the master. He's the world leader in annoying Protoss harassment.
You know, herO has had a lot of trouble on Inside Out, not as far as the general game goes, but specifically of the wall. I actually wonder if he's got a handle on how to wall this map, or if we're going to see another
Well, this one actually does look a bit weird. Yeah, where's I think he just, oh yeah, he'll just squeeze it between the pylon and the gate.
I think he can.
It's going to be a bit of a diagonal. It's going to be a very narrow choke point.
Yes, but it's been recurring, but I mean, that's like a very small sample size, to be fair, of how often he's played. Well, I would say a wall-off matchup on this map, which does include PvP, but still not a lot of games. I'm sure he's figured it out by now. I gave him this credit, but I know he messed up, I think, yesterday. So we'll see.
Well, herO is pure chaos. If there's one pro gamer I'm 100% sure does not go into the maps when they come out and check where to place his buildings, it's herO. I know this because he literally takes a different base pattern every game. Like, he just does different things. Same matchup. He's like, no, I'm going to expand this direction this time. Next game, this direction. I'm going to expand over here. His pylon's always in different positions. He's truly a chaotic player. And that's what makes him so powerful. I mean, for those who don't know, herO actually doesn't use control groups the way normal pro players do, where they say, this is my main army, this is my warp prism, this is my, my disruptor control group. He only uses control groups for the most recent thing he was looking at. So if he looks at the Oracle, he'll say, that's Army 1. He looks at the Adept, that's Army 2, just so when he jumps home, he can double tap that control group to jump back to them. But if you watch a replay, it's constantly changing what's on those groups. And he just uses F2, the select all army group, and those individual groups a lot. It's fascinating to watch, but he just has his own weird way of playing, and it's why he's comfortable, no matter how chaotic the game is, where other players fall apart, he's like, oh, this is every game for me. I make the game chaotic.
That plus the F2 comment, I wonder if his Brood War coaches are just like crying somewhere out in the universe. They're just like, oh, my mechanics. No, but he definitely makes it his own and makes it look like it's actually a totally normal thing to do. People should be copying him. It is triple Oracle with the 4 gases as well, so we're actually going to get another macro game here as the Twilight Council and Forge also do come down, so kind of double, triple confirming that. And Lambo is now tasked with confirming that too. But Lambo, the one that changed things up a bit, is going to add on that +1 melee. So in the previous games, there's been some different roach timings, maybe a little more apprehension on a couple of different factors, like the Twilight Council, Resident Enclaves, the proxy gate obviously last game. Now in this game, he's going to be doing what it seems to be is the agreed upon challenge to herO's macro Blink Stalker, which is that use of the Lings with the upgrades.
Twilight Council finishing up in the main, very quick Forge there as well. I do like the fast melee. I kind of really like it though if the Zerg just skips on the roaches unless they're forced to build them, right? What has forced that? Archons, of course. Archons and Zealots are going to destroy a mass Zergling army. But if it's just Stalkers and Oracles, if you just overwhelm with mass Zergling, it can be so powerful. Now we saw Scarlet play that style with a very quick 4th and 5th hatchery and just explode her production, stay really low on gases and have a crazy Zergling count. We'll see if Lambo opts for that or if he does go back to the traditional Roach Ravager base.
Yeah, I mean, he's already getting it a bit off time to Scarlet, which I believe she got like 530 on both Roach Horn and Lair or something like that. So, I mean, a little more cautious perhaps, and maybe there's going to be more emphasis on the Roaches than perhaps... I don't know. We'll see if it's actually correct or not, because that's honestly just the big question that everyone has, including, very importantly, the Zerg players themselves. How exactly do we make this easier? Because, of course, it's always going to be a difficult task, just take on herO multitasking-wise, but whatever makes it easier, let's figure that one out.
Yeah, the Oracles cause so many problems with that, right? Because it always feels like, oh, I'm on top of the Stalkers, and then bam, 4 Oracles come in and turn their lasers, and your Zerglings just have to disengage. You can't stand underneath that. So I think this is just going to be a really fast +2 melee for Banelings. Obviously, they one-hit probes. Could see some drops in there. They're going to clear up the Zealot run-bys very well. Definitely, I have seen herO lose a few games with this style, where just a handful of Banelings getting his 3rd and 4th mineral line. Goodbye economy, and that is one path to victory. Lambo up 6 workers. He's got Roach speed on the way. I feel like this is a very even game so far.
He's going to do the really mass Oracle thing again, too. Yeah, so not just 3 Oracles, but 4 instead. 1 gets microed away, and there's not enough Queens now to kill the other Oracles. So that was a fantastic find there for herO. Lambo was very much thinking that it was probably just going to be the same 3, in which case the Queen number was fine.
Those Oracles just keep on coming out. So annoying to play against, but it's got so much utility. They give detection, they can clear creep, you don't need observers. And of course, if there's ever a base without a drone, a bunch of Queens on it, even if there's a Spore, you dive with 5 Oracles, bam, it's gone. So this kind of punishes the fact that Zergs want to just play Ravagerling Bane with a handful of Queens. There's always going to be an opportunity for you to dive a mineral line, kill 20 workers, and suddenly cripple the Zerg player.
And here's that push. It's going to start clearing up that creep, but then also be a surprising threat. Just you'd think that just like the no warp prism, the no charge lots, what is relatively a small number of stalkers, that's really they'll only stand the edge of creep. But I mean, herO can actually try and start pushing towards, more specifically towards the 4th base, but now content on creep duty. He's going to continue building back at home while getting that +2 and charge, and that's more so when we're going to see the real pressure applied. A lovely use of the 2 Adepts here is going to actually find quite a big distraction as well as more Overlords get killed for Lambo.
Ooh, okay. +2 is getting close. Charge Zealot starting to come in. 80 drones versus 72. I think this is more than enough economy for Lambo. The problem here is going to be defending the Stalker Oracle without taking really bad fights, and at the same time splitting off a squad to the bottom right, because it's going to be constant Zealot run-bys from now on.
Yeah, that's actually, this is where, in this particular style of play, herO is now pressing the go button, the green light. has been shown, and herO is not going to stop anytime soon. I mean, if he actually gets totally demolished on the Stalker counts on this side, then yes, he will have to back away. But basically, the idea is that you'll never lose all that many Stalkers. The Zealots might be sacrificed. The Oracles might even eventually die. But the Stalkers stay alive. But speaking of those Oracles, the Queen number is still not high enough to actually combat them. herO notices it and just goes ahead and takes care of the Queens. Then the Ravagers. And then what can actually Lambo do to continue pressuring?
These Oracles are so annoying. The stasis traps behind the Stalkers as well. It's so frustrating to play against. Lambo, though, he's practiced it. This is the series he prepared for. Remember, up to now, herO has played 3 games of a completely different style where he's like, hey, I'm not going to let you get into the comfort zone of your practice. The stasis traps, though, every time holding back the advance behind this.
Lambo is starting to get really tested, and the supplies don't seem so dangerous right now. And now maybe they aren't. Lambo at 20-30 supply lead is okay, but then it's very sudden. The Zerg player also realizes they haven't actually got enough minerals in the bank. Hold on. This was excellent micro there. Nice pull on the probes. Nice use of the force fields. Lambo's little jabs back at herO. Not working out so far.
Did herO just take the bottom right base?
He did, yes.
You absolute savage. What the hell, man?
I mean, this actually is totally in line with it, though. He wants to be the aggressor. He might actually completely flip the script and go right side with the Stalkers and left side with the Zealots if that's what he thinks he should do or wants to do, really. Because right now, it's not even a should. Right now, it's almost like a hidden base. Lambo's not going to expect it down there. So he's suddenly going to just be like, why are these Zealots hitting so quickly? Why is the economy so good? He actually saw the probes transfer, and I wonder if he was paying attention. Gets 8 with them in total and might just be happy with that. He's, of course, multitasking. Look at all different fronts. herO just jumps on top of the Roach Ravager. And once again, the Oracles are using their pulsar beams to help out, and probably too much. Lambo. It happened again, man. herO's just so good at this.
Oh my lord, those Oracles just absolutely annihilating and showing how much of a problem that is. Stalkers on one side, Zealots on the other, Oracles as well, and it's just too much. It is such a difficulty, and you can see why that is inspiring the Protoss players all around the world. It is a completely new style, and it is